Costa Rica has a new law to attract wealthy foreigners to Costa Rica. What is that all about? And hey, do you meet the requirements? In other words, are you wealthy enough? We're going to find that out. But even more so, what are the benefits if you are wealthy enough to be attracted to Costa Rica? Well, we want to find out more about that, as opposed to what if you decide that you want to become a resident of Costa Rica instead of applying to this new law for wealthy foreigners? Or what if you just decide you want to be a long-term visitor, better known as a perpetual tourist? Hey, there's pros and cons to all of those, and maybe this new law to attract wealthy foreigners to Costa Rica is exactly for you. But we're going to find out all that and much more about this breaking news story right after this info break. Come on. Woo. On YouTube, there are literally hundreds upon thousands of channels and hundreds of new creators every single day. And all of those creators are sharing beautiful content like this, some silly stuff, some funny stuff, and some just important information that they're sharing to help you learn so you don't make the same mistakes. But with all those creators, you have everyone saying, subscribe, hit the like button, hit that notification bell, subscribe, hit the like button, hit the notification bell, subscribe. Why is that? Well, first off, Rebecca and I want to say thanks so much for watching our channel. And we really hope you are enjoying the information that we're sharing with you about living in Costa Rica and much more, as we show you how we're going to be building an off-grid homestead in Costa Rica and how you can do the same if that's what you'd like to learn, and sharing all those differences. But first, why is it so important to subscribe, like, hit the notification bell? Well, to help you understand, that's a very small way that you can support us. And now we have many ways you can support us. We got the forum, the free forum, the paid forum, the Facebook group. But an easy way that takes you about 2 seconds is to actually subscribe, like, comment, notification. And let me help you to understand why everyone, and it sounds like they're begging for those subscribes, those comments, those notifications. Well, here's what's important. On YouTube, everything is run on an algorithm. And whenever you comment, the algorithm is reading that comment, noticing you're commenting on something, and says, hey, he must like that channel. If you hit that subscribe button, oh, he likes that channel. If you hit that notification bell, oh, he really likes that channel. So you're sending messages to the algorithm. Now, while most people would love to have 1 million subscribers, well, I guess some people do it for the fame, and hey, maybe one day we'll have 1 million subscribers. But the numbers don't matter so much to us as it does the algorithm. That's why we always say, hey, please take a moment to subscribe. Take a moment to comment. Take a moment to hit that like button. All those signals tell the algorithm that you like the channel. Now, why is that important? Because if there's enough people who subscribe and like it, the algorithm says, if this person likes it, let's push it more to these people, see if they like it. So the more people that subscribe to the channel, comment, like, well, the more the algorithm pushes it out there so other people just like you can get that valuable information. So by subscribing, hey, not only are you helping us, but you're helping other people just like you who want to learn the information on that channel. So Rebecca and I really, really appreciate it. It takes you 2 seconds to hit that subscribe button. And what we've noticed, because I'm a tech guy, I look into all the technical stuff, which is boring for most, but when I look at the stats, I can see that the subscriber base that we have is only about 20 to 25% of the actual viewership. We might have over 50 to 70,000 people who view the channel, but really only about 7,000 to 8,000 people have actually subscribed. So with that said, you'd really be helping us and supporting us in a great way and helping a lot of other people by simply taking 2 seconds, subscribe, hit the notification bell, like the video, and comment what you think about this video. Welcome back to the Costa Rica Daily News segment. Today, we are pleased to announce that the President has signed into law the Costa Rica Digital Nomad Visa. Now, President Carlos Alvarado on Wednesday, August 11th, signed into law a project that's going to create a digital nomad visa to attract foreign remote workers. Now, this is really exciting, and it's a good thing. Costa Rica stated, or the president stated some time back, that he wanted Costa Rica to be the first Latin America country to create such a program to attract digital nomads. And they've done it. So they've really been pushing this. Now, everybody knows that since the pandemic, well, lots of people have been hurt, lots of businesses in every country. Costa Rica especially lost lots of money because, of course, they do create a lot of income because of the tourists that come to Costa Rica. Well, during the pandemic, Rebecca and I traveled all over Costa Rica, went to some of these very popular tourist destinations and places that used to be packed with hundreds upon thousands of people. Well, they were like a ghost town. And so it's nice to see that Costa Rica has been really proactive in pushing and creating these new laws, creating new things in order to boost the economy. So we've talked about it in other videos. Recently, Costa Rica proposed a new law to attract foreigners to become residents of Costa Rica. If you haven't seen that video yet, make sure that you click the link somewhere up here so that you can watch that video as we go into detail about what you can do if you decide that you want to become a resident in Costa Rica. Now, a lot of people just decide to be long-term tourists. Anybody can come to Costa Rica and they can get their passport or their visa stamped with 90 days and you can enjoy this beautiful country, spend your money here, right? But with the new digital nomad visa, well, you can stay much longer than just that 90 days. So we're going to be talking about the pros and cons on all of that. But let's first take a look at some of the information here we have for you. So most importantly, even though the president has just signed this in the law, it does take time, okay? First, it's got to be published in the official government newspaper that's called the La Gaceta, okay? I probably pronounced that wrong, but hey, I'm trying. So it does have to be published in that paper. That'll take a little bit of time, but most importantly, it'll probably take a few weeks, maybe a month or two, in order for all of the correct departments to get their policies and their rules in place so that everybody's on the right page. You know, from the police departments to the immigrations, you know, everybody needs to be on the same page so that if you are one of those that apply for the digital nomad and you get stopped or you go through immigrations, then they know who you are, and that way you're not breaking any laws. What President Alvarado says, he says that this new law is going to promote longer visitation stays. Obviously, that's great, right? Longer than 90 days. And it's going to help to bring foreign resources into the country. Now, you know, Costa Rica calls this the law to attract wealthy foreigners, okay? Well, he goes into a little bit of detail about that, okay? So what does that mean? Depending on your livelihood and your lifestyle, Costa Rica already has a program to attract residents, okay? And, you know, not everybody wants to be a resident, and it doesn't. The requirements or the financial requirements to apply to be a resident are not a whole lot. You know, as a if you want one of the most popular ones, a lot of foreigners come here to retire. That's a pensionado. Hey, you only have to have proof of $1,000 a month pension. That's not a lot of money. But to meet the requirements to be a digital nomad, it's much more, anywhere from $3,000 to $4,000 a month. We'll talk about more of those requirements, but what the president is saying here is that, hey, if you're a digital nomad, they bring in a lot more or spend a lot more. Why? Because as a digital nomad, if you're staying here, you practically have to rent a house, so you're going to be spending money on multiple services, like electricity, internet, gas, water, all the typical living services that you'd be using if you were living in Costa Rica. Now, also, they're going to make lots of purchases here. They're going to use transportation or purchase transportation. And most importantly, some digital nomads will hire some of the locals to help them with their business, okay? Which that's going to generate employment in the country, which generates growth for Costa Rica, which is the whole reason they're doing this, to promote and generate income to boost the economy, okay? Now, let's talk about some of the details of who can qualify for a digital nomad. Now, in order to be a digital nomad, there's really 3 basic requirements, and it's really very simple. If you can show proof that you can make $3,000 a month on average, okay, because we know digital nomads, their income kind of goes up and down. But if you can show on average of $3,000 a month or $4,000 a month, if you want to bring in your family, spouse, and or children, okay? But most importantly, you do have to show that you can maintain that $3,000 or $4,000 a month once you're in Costa Rica. So, in other words, here's an example or a scenario. Let's say that you want to come in as a family, and your wife, and you're using that combined revenue, okay? Well, if your wife works at the local Walmart or a local store making, $1,000 a month, and you easily make $3,000, as a digital nomad, if she comes over here as a family, well, she's not going to be able to work in Costa Rica. So Costa Rica is making it clear, if you come over here, just because you proved you made, $3,000 or $4,000 in the year before, you've got to continue making that $3,000 or $4,000 while you're here, okay? So it's important that you realize that part of it. So as long as you make that $3,000 or $4,000 and can continue to do that while you're here, that's requirement number 1. Number 2, you do have to obtain medical insurance. Now, anybody, if you're a tourist, or a resident, you're going to have medical insurance. As a resident, well, you'll be paying into Caja, so you don't have to pay for that medical insurance, or what we call traveler's insurance for the tourist. As tourists, when they come in, they have to buy traveler's insurance. If you're a tourist and you're planning to be here for 14 days, 14 days of traveler's insurance. If you're going to be here for 90 days, 90 days of traveler's insurance. Now, Costa Rica, once again, to help kind of boost the economy or help boost tourism to come in, if you can show proof of vaccination, you don't have to spend money or waste money on traveler's insurance because you have the vaccine, okay? Now, I'm not sure what's going to happen because a lot of people who get the vaccine still get COVID. So I'm not sure what's going to happen. Is that going to be on Costa Rica's dime? I don't know. That's still yet to be determined, I suppose. But the good news is, if you're vaccinated, then you don't have to buy the traveler's insurance. But if you choose not to be vaccinated or just haven't been vaccinated yet, you do have to have that traveler's insurance. Back to the digital nomad. The digital nomad, you'll have to buy traveler's insurance or medical insurance. They haven't stated what the minimum requirements are. Will it be the same as a tourist? I don't know. And of course, as a resident, well, you just pay into the Caja, and there's different amounts depending on what category you fall into underneath that residential status, okay? Now, so that's number 2. That's very easy, right? And number 3, there is going to be a one-time processing fee to apply. I can't see that as being a whole lot. Some people think that since it's a new law to attract wealthy foreigners, maybe that one-time fee will be a lot. I don't think so. I think it's going to be something reasonable, but hey, we'll find out. They've yet to determine what that figure will be, okay? So it really is 3 very simple qualifications to be a digital nomad or to apply. And from my understanding, they're going to make it very easy to where you can practically apply online, okay? So we'll find out more about that. Now, hey, what are the benefits, okay? Because there are pros and cons to being a digital nomad, or whether you want to be a resident or a perpetual tourist. Now, I won't go into all of the details, and we do go into a lot of the details when it talks about residents, okay? So make sure to watch that video. But as a digital nomad, well, if you come here, your first benefit is that you can stay for a whole year. Now, if you stay for at least 180 days during that first year, well, then you can extend it for 2 years. Now, that is really great because as a perpetual tourist, well, you have to stamp out every 90 days, and you got to do what we call that dreaded border run. That means you're going down to Panama, going to Nicaragua. You've got to stamp out of the country, stamp into the new country. You've got fees to pay, and you've got to stay there for several hours, and they really want you to stay at least overnight, even though it's not mandatory. And there's this fictitious rumor that you got to be out for 72 hours. Well, none of that's true, but you can't stamp out and stamp in right around. You do have to stay out, and most people, they'll go out, spend a half a day, eat some supper, do some shopping, then come back. Well, as a digital nomad, you've got 2 years or up to 2 years of just enjoying this beautiful country without stamping out. Now, if you apply to become a resident, obviously, once you're a resident, you don't have that hassle, okay? But during the application process, until you're fully approved, you still got to stamp out, okay? So it's important to note. Now, also, hey, number 2, it's important to note that if you want to bring your family as a digital nomad, you can, but remember, you got to meet that $4,000 a month requirement, okay? So they can stay for extended stays. Now, what's really neat is also number 3, and this is important. Costa Rica is saying that they're not going to tax your income as a digital nomad. Now, why is that important? Well, rumor has it that Costa Rica has been talking about possibly going to a worldwide tax system. Well, that's like the United States, where no matter where you make your income, you're taxed. However, Costa Rica has been talking about it, hasn't done that yet, and they're stating specifically in this digital nomad law that they will not tax your income. Keep in mind, if you are generating income in Costa Rica, you will be taxed. I don't know how they're going to determine what is Costa Rica income and what's not, but it's important to note, if you generate money in Costa Rica, you got to pay taxes on that. So as a digital nomad, long as you're generating your income outside of Costa Rica, you're good, okay? Now, also, it's real important to note that you can also drive in Costa Rica. Now, important, so long as your driver's license is valid. So, if you think you're going to stay for 2 years or 1 year, make sure that driver's license is not going to expire. Because if it does, well, you can't drive, okay? So that's important. And it's important that you can also note that, hey, you can open up a Costa Rican bank account. So that's going to make it easy, and obviously they want you to put your money in their account. It does make it easier. Not required, not necessary, okay? But it might make things easier for you. And also, you're going to be able to import tax-free any equipment that you might need to run your business. And that's important. As a digital nomad, maybe you have several computers, several monitors. You can bring all that stuff in tax-free, import-free, so that's important to note. That's good, okay? So anything that you need to set up shop. Now, that's real important, and the end goal here really is actually just to attract wealthy foreigners who are digital nomads into the country. And obviously, maybe $3,000 or $4,000 a month, hey, maybe that's not a lot for you, but maybe that is. And if you don't have that kind of money, well, no big deal. There are other programs, like I said earlier, where you can apply to become a pensionado resident, and it's only $1,000 a month. Or you can be an investor, and excuse me, as an investor, there's a one-time investment of only $150,000 thanks to that new law. But there's also the rentistas, and that's what Rebecca and I applied for, and we're still going through that process where you got to either deposit $60,000 into a bank, or you can show that you're making that $2,500 every month, okay? So there's many other programs, or hey, just come as a tourist and enjoy Costa Rica in this beautiful country. So there's lots of things that Costa Rica is doing to really boost the economy. That really does make sense. It shows that Costa Rica is being proactive, and now is a great time that, hey, if you're thinking about moving to Costa Rica, you're thinking about checking it out, and you're a digital nomad, what better way than to apply to become a digital nomad? And hey, this way you can come here, you can stay for 3 months, go to Panama, Nicaragua, come back, just makes life easy and generates income for Costa Rica. And if you hire some of the locals, well, it helps Costa Rica to grow and boost their economy. All right, that's the Costa Rica Daily News segment. I hope you've enjoyed this story, and we're going to be telling you more as we get more updates. So make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell so that as we get more details, we'll let you know what's happening. So once again, we'll see you on the next Costa Rica Daily News segment.